You're listening to the Productive Therapist Podcast, the world's greatest and most brilliant resource for busy therapists who'd rather be laying on a beach in Hawaii. Each episode is packed with simple tips and inspiring insights from the Productive Therapist team to help you grow your practice and have fun doing it. So without further ado, let's help you get more done and have more fun.
Hello and welcome back to The Productive Therapist. I'm Uriah Guilford, a marriage and family therapist, group practice owner, and the head nerd here at Productive Therapist. Today I had a really good time talking with my friend Wendy McSparron. She's a licensed clinical social worker, a group practice owner, and also the co-founder of Admira, a CRM built specifically for mental health practices. Wendy and I have known each other for a while, and what I love about her story is that she didn't just take a guess about what practice owners need. She was living it and trying to solve her own problem, which is fantastic. She runs Westmoreland Psychotherapy Associates in Pennsylvania, and she just got frustrated with all the available tools and decided to build something better with her husband, John, which is amazing. And today in this conversation, we dive into the messy reality of practice operations, the gap between what we think we need and what actually moves the needle. We talk about systems, automation, AI, and how to wear multiple hats without losing your mind. I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Wendy. Hi, Wendy. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Uriah. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. I'm thrilled to talk to you about mutual topics of interest and speciality. We are both therapists by training and group practice owners and owners of businesses that support therapists. So that's a lot of convergence, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, absolutely. I love it.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So for people who don't know you and haven't heard of Admira just yet, I would love for you to share a little bit about your story, about how you got to starting Admira and where you're at now.
Yeah. Well, so I've been a clinician now. I'm going into my 37th year, which is a little hard for me to believe
Wow.
that I've been practicing this long, and I've worked in a lot of different mental health settings over my career, but went into private practice and was doing the solo practice thing for, 17 years, part-time, then full-time, sharing space with colleagues. And the pandemic hit and most of them pivoted, retired, decided they couldn't do this anymore. And I knew at that time I had more in me and I would keep practicing. And I didn't want to do it alone. And my husband looked at me and said, I really think you should do a group practice. And having run mental health programs in various levels of care, from outpatient to inpatient to residential, I wasn't real excited to think about doing a whole group. Been there,
Really?
done that. Right?
Okay.
I was hesitant. But I knew I didn't want to do it alone. And when I started talking with people and interviewing and hearing people's experiences through the pandemic, I was like, we just need to do this together. Let's go. And just really started building it. But as I was building it, all the operational headaches, all the manualized processes. I am an insurance-based practice. So all of the hoops that you have to jump through from credentialing to making sure that people know what their benefits are and that they can afford their out-of-pocket expense. It was a lot of manualized tracking. And I'm fortunate enough that I'm married to a software engineer who watched me pulling my hair out through the pandemic. And he's like, there's got to be technology. We'll figure this out. We'll get you a CRM. So we duct taped all these things together. And they just aren't made for the kind of work that we do, right? They're highly technical. CRMs are certainly more sales focused. And so it just wasn't a fit for what I needed and all of the intricacies of running a practice. And we finally decided just be better to build it. And he has the skill set to do that. So we started iterating and building and really weren't going to take it to the market. But as I talked with people in masterminds I was in and, colleagues across the US, and they saw what we were doing. They were really interested in it, from not only the CRM, customer client relationship management, but the whole operations and the KPI data and reports. So we launched we did a soft launch early 2024, and then went full tilt in 2024. Got into a software accelerator and
Oh, nice.
navigated that. And that's been a really great journey into software and understanding investors and how all of this works. And just a real beautiful merging of my clinical world and John's software startup world that he's lived. I mean, our worlds kind of have come together, and we've really found a really great place that I never envisioned that we would be at,
I love that. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
have to go back to your comment about it was your husband's suggestion that you start a group practice. Tell me about that.
Well, my phone was ringing off the hook, and I was
Yeah.
having a hard time saying no to people. So
Mm.
I got maxed out very quickly. And I was seeing 30, 40 clients.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It just wasn't sustainable. And he said, you just need to hire people and do
Hmm.
this. Because I was struggling to say no. I wanted to help people. People were in need. We were
Sure.
all in need of connection. My God, we were so shut off. And he was watching me drown, and he said, you can't
Hmm.
do this. You're not scalable. You're not scalable.
Yeah. You as a human therapist are not
I'm
scalable.
not
Past a
scalable.
certain point, you have your limits. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
One of the things I love about your story too, besides that, is that you created something to solve your own problem, your own pain point,
Mhm.
without necessarily like an intention, like you said, to go to the market or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that's just so often the best way to create a product or a service. It's exactly what I did with Productive Therapist back in 2018. I said,
Right.
I actually lost my part-time virtual assistant. I was like, I need an intake coordinator, but I only need probably like 5 or 10 hours a week. And
Mhm.
so I hired a friend. And then before I knew it, I was contracting them out to my other therapist friends. And then I had a side hustle as a virtual assistant business owner. Never intended that, but it was
Right.
like a beautiful surprise, right?
Yeah. Yeah. A happy accident.
Happy accident. Yeah. I was definitely an accidental group practice owner too. I was very intentional that I did not want to start a group practice because of a number of things. And then one of my former coworkers called me and said, I'm leaving the agency that we met at.
Hmm.
Can I come work for you? And she was a clinician that I looked up to and just thought, this is an amazing opportunity. And
Yeah.
so I just did it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just sort of happens.
Right.
And it's interesting. I put out an ad, brought in 3 people, thought that would be perfect. That's great.
Hmm.
But people kept coming.
Yeah.
And when I went from 3 offices in a very small office to 7 offices and 2,500 square feet, I was having
Oh my gosh.
panic. I was like, can I do this? Is this going to be okay? What about
Right.
all the headaches that come with it? But I mean, there are headaches, but there's great joys with it.
Yeah. So I have to ask you your clinical journey and then your group practice and then Admira. I mean, there's not one answer to this, obviously, but what's been the most unexpected part of that journey for you?
Working with my husband has been
Is
very
that right?
unexpected. Yeah.
Okay.
We are, we both have strong personalities, and on the disc, when we took the disc,
Hmm.
we're both high D, high.
Are you really
Oh yes, yeah, we're both very,
dominant, right?
yep, and
Yeah.
directive. And
Hmm.
so, in parallel, when he was working in software startup companies, very strong and visionary and leading. And I was just in my practice. I was also doing some consulting. I was part of the Sanctuary Institute and their faculty. And so I was traveling and doing training and things like that, but independent, autonomous. And we knew we were both strong-headed.
Hmm.
And so being able to kind of blend this together, and complement one another. Like where he really is strong and knowledgeable, I'm able to defer to him, and vice versa, right? So when it comes to anything clinical and running the mental health business and understanding insurance and healthcare and all of those things, he is deferential to me around those things. So we've really found a nice dance, and I didn't expect that. I didn't expect that.
That's wonderful. And that's hard to do. But when it works well, it can be fantastic. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. I've had conversations with my wife many times, and we've decided every single time not to work together.
I don't know that we could have ever envisioned it. It just, again, it's
Sure.
sort of just unfolded.
Right.
And then I think we were walking one day during the pandemic. We were out taking a nice walk, and I was like, this just makes sense. This just makes sense.
Hmm.
Let's,
Hmm.
let's see how this goes.
I love it so much. So let's
Yeah.
go back to when you were looking, you said you were patching together several different software solutions. At that point, like what problem were you trying to solve for your operations or for intake or whatever it was? What were you trying to accomplish that you just couldn't really do?
The first thing I was trying to solve was really to not have clients fall through the cracks, because they're
Right.
coming in lots of different ways, whether it's by phone or they're emailing you or texting. So it was about having one place to have all of that information contained. And then as I grew the practice, I brought in admin, and so then you have more people involved, and so part of
Hmm.
it was about setting up systems and SOPs and getting that out of my head so that other people could do those things. And so nothing fell through the cracks,
Right.
having that one place. Because initially you're using a shared inbox, you're using spreadsheets, you're using Google folders, you're in Trello or Asana or whatever project management software you're trying to use. And so you're going between all of these different things, not to mention the 20 different insurance portals that you have to go into to verify insurance or do whatever. And really, it just it grew upon itself to become like the one central place that we as
Mm.
an admin team function out of, because the clinical team, once a client onboards, they're in the electronic health record,
Right.
and all the clinical billing, all that stuff happens there, but there's all this front end and back end office admin that lives in a million different fractious places,
Hmm.
and things fall through the cracks and get lost, and if or it's in somebody's head and they leave, and then you're trying to start from scratch. So it was about the intake and referral piece, and then it
Right.
became really about the administrative operations of the practice.
That makes a lot of sense. That's one of the things that I never anticipated, and I think a lot of people don't as you're scaling any kind of business, but especially a group practice, the complexity, like you said, when you add more admin folks and you add obviously more referrals, and then everything just kind of gets it gets more complex. And I'm sure
Right.
you've seen this too, but I've seen some really scary spreadsheets where like, right, like a large group practice is managing a whole lot and they've patched it together. And some of
Yeah.
these spreadsheets are impressive, but I'm like, no,
Yes.
that is not the best solution to
Right.
track these things. It
Right.
just at some point it doesn't break, but it stops being as functional and it has limitations. Like it hits those limitations pretty quickly, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think as a practice owner, I've seen some really impressive spreadsheets, and I've watched people really create something beautiful.
Yeah.
But the end user, who's the client care coordinator, they're going cross-eyed trying to figure this out and manage it. It just
Hmm.
becomes really hard to get your hands around.
So true. I don't know
Yeah.
if this is just me, but whenever I'm on a spreadsheet of any kind and or anywhere, if I have to scroll to the right, like off my screen, I'm like,
Yeah.
this is not good. I don't like this.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
the limitation too that I have noticed is that with those kinds of things, there's just no capability of having automations built in.
That's right.
So everything, like you said, it's manualized, it's manual, and you have to have a really, really good human because you can't really make things happen automatically.
Right.
And so over the years, as I've talked about the three keys to productivity, which are, automation, elimination, and delegation,
Right.
the automation piece has mostly been like, what can your EHR do? Because
Right.
there hasn't been a lot of other functionality that was, HIPAA compliant and all those kinds of things. But now with tools like Admira, you can do a lot more. So your admin team doesn't have to absolutely click every button and do absolutely everything, right?
Right. Yeah, we've added a lot of automation functionality
Hmm.
to the system for reminders for manual tasks, but also communication with potential clients.
So terrific. I love that.
Yeah.
And the thing that makes me excited and happy about those kinds of things is that the actual client experience, they don't
Mhm.
see any of those things, right?
Right.
But hopefully what we're aiming for with my business and your business is to provide like this seamless experience
Right.
where the client is thrilled to be matched with the right therapist and they get all the reminders and notifications, they show up to their appointments, they get the help,
Yeah.
right? Instead of what I call landing in voicemail purgatory,
Right.
and then like I think I reached out to a couple different therapists, but I never heard back. That type of thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
that's what we try to avoid. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so many clients say, thank you for calling me back, if that's their
Hmm.
preferred method of communication, because I haven't heard from anybody. And
Yeah.
it's not what you want to have happen.
Yeah. It's still shocking to me that in 2026 now, I was going to say five, but in 2026, there's never been more mental health needs.
Right.
There are actually a lot of therapists. There's not enough therapists, but it's still too hard to find the best therapist and then actually get an appointment with them and be able to, afford those services too.
Right.
So I think you and I are
Yeah.
both kind of focused on solving at least part of that problem in
Hmm.
in the middle there, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. I have a question for you about what group practice owners or just practice owners think they need versus what they really need, especially as their operations get a little bit more complex and there's more going on. I don't know if that's a good question, but let me know if you have an answer to that one.
Well, it is, I've broadened my perspective about this quite a bit.
Hmm.
And this has come from conversations that my husband John and I have had. John has said to me, I have built a lot of really cool software that no one ever used because I
Hmm.
listened to what they told me they thought they wanted. And he said, I had to really learn to listen and diagnose what the actual underlying problem is. So it's a lot like a therapist.
Sure.
When I talk with John and when he's trying to understand, and throughout the pandemic when we were having dinner over, Blue Apron and a bottle of wine, he would just drill down and drill down. And I was like, were you a therapist in a previous life? Because he was really trying to diagnose what the actual problem was. Because so many conversations that he and I had, and even now with folks who are on the Admira platform, it's like, can it just have this button be this color? Can you make it do this? I want it to do that. And John always asks deeper and deeper questions because he's like, we want to solve the right problem. And the disconnect for us as clinicians is we
Hmm.
don't, I mean, we are at a little bit of a disadvantage, maybe not you because you are head nerd and you have a little more like you are just naturally curious about the technology and you have a natural flair for it, right? It isn't my natural thing.
Hmm.
Um, and I run into a lot of clinicians that even though we think in systems theory and think in ways of
Right.
systems, that's a system we don't know as well. And we know the outcome we want, we know the result we think we want. And sometimes we're not solving the right problem, right? And just like in the therapy room, when people come and they want help with a particular issue, but it might be something else that we have to unpack and deal with to really get them to the end goal of what they want in terms of quality of life or functioning. So that's been an interesting parallel for me to see and know that we don't always know exactly what we want.
Hmm.
Um, we want ease. We want to be able to do the things that we were trained to do, which is do therapy. I mean, I know we want to do those kinds of things. We think we know ways to get there, but some of those ways aren't really the ways to get.
Right.
So
Yeah. That's a really good analogy. I like
Yeah, it's
that.
been an interesting process. And John asks really good questions that peel the layers and get down to the nugget.
I really appreciate people who have brains that work like your husband's.
Yeah, yeah,
It's like
me too.
really problem solving and really, like you said, digging deep and finding the source of the issue. Because yeah, you could change the color of a button or make a thing do something that it wants to do. They want it to do. Like I noticed that like on EHR, Facebook groups, everybody's always pitching in like their software developers. Like I want it to do this. I want it to look like this. And I'm like that too. I kind of wish I
Yeah,
knew how to code and build things, but I don't. I just know enough to be dangerous.
yeah. I mean, when I walk into John's office, he's got three giant screens. Now I've
Yeah.
upgraded to three giant screens, but it
Have you really?
looks, yes, I have. It looks like the Matrix when he's
Yeah.
in code and writing and doing those things. And on one screen, he'll have the code and then he'll flash it to Admira and what it's going to do. And he'll walk through. So if it does this, do you want it to do? It's an interesting process, but I'm not capable of that. Not capable of
That's
that.
great. So in your experience, I'll ask you two versions of those questions. In your experience, what has been the most useful automation or thing that that your software causes to happen automatically that people actually find delightful or helpful? And
Mhm.
then, so that's question number one. And then the second one is, what amazing feature would you like to add that would solve a problem that you see that's still
Mhm.
unsolved?
So those are both really good questions. I think, the automations that we have set up, one of the things we have in Admira is the ability to verify benefits. And so, we're able to verify up to 1,800 different commercial insurances across the United States. And so, being able to have a client inquiry come in and an automated message go to them in their preferred method of communication, so they're getting an instant response saying we've got you, and then it bouncing directly to verification of benefits and showing up in the next stage where it's like all that's done.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody puts in the wrong number, like that will kick, but honestly, adding that is so seamless. So they're already into the client journey. They're 3 steps in before you even need to touch it to then communicate with them what their insurance is. And the thing I'm going to be really excited about is when we can have an AI generated good faith estimate that will automatically go out to
Oh, yeah.
the customer or the client based on the insurance information they put in. And that automation is just picking that up exponentially. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's saving so much time, so much energy. My office manager is like thrilled. And when she, there's times she still has to go in and go into a particular insurance portal if something wasn't right and double check or go back to the client to get information. But that's been really big.
That's huge, especially obviously for an insurance-based practice. And even I know some practices like to do insurance checks for like out-of-network benefits
That's
too.
right.
That's obviously very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
That's so cool. And then the good faith estimate is on your wish list, right?
It's
Did I
on my
understand
wish
that?
list that will
Okay.
automatically
Yeah.
be created. That we have a practitioner management component in Admira, and so like I'm using that to onboard new clinicians when
Mm-hmm.
I hire them, and they can put all of their availability preferences, all those things, and that goes into our matching tool as well. And being able, if a clinician has a different rate, for example, that they charge, that should feed into the good faith estimate, so that we can be really clear and people understand what their commitment is coming into therapy and what the financial responsibility is going to be so they can make a good decision.
That's the power of custom fields. If you know, you know.
That's right.
Can
Yeah.
you say a little bit more about the matching tool? Because I think that's one of the most special things that I'm aware of about Admira. And that's at Productive Therapist, that's one of the main things that we do. And I
Yeah,
still think it's incredibly valuable to have a human in the loop, as they say.
for sure.
Yes, could AI select a therapist and recommend a therapist? Probably, absolutely, yes. But I still think it's really great to have a human doing at least part of that process. But yeah,
Yeah.
tell me how the matching tool works.
So there is the practitioner management. They can enter everything from their availability, modalities of treatment that they're trained in, their age range that they specialize with, and a multitude of other things. Their insurance, if they are paneled with certain insurances, and based on what the client has filled out on the form, the web based form, or if they call in and the client care coordinator is taking that information you can just click match therapist, and a window will come out, show you all the clinicians based on all of that criteria and how well they match for that particular client. So it has a percentage based
Hmm.
amount of how they match with them. So then you can start to look at, okay, so I have top three that look like from an availability, insurance, clinical need, because they specialize in working with people with anxiety, depression, whatever the presenting issue is. And then the client care coordinator or my office manager can then really send out there's a share with practitioner component that will share the basic information about the age, the availability, their insurance, their symptoms or issues, and anything they filled in the free form field to ask the practitioner, can you fit this person in, for example.
Right.
If you don't get your clinician's feedback, you can just have your client care coordinator, look in the EHR to see when the next available appointment is for that person and plug them in and go there with that person. You can schedule them with that clinician. I give my clinicians a choice of who
Hmm.
they will take or not. So I keep them involved in that process.
That's phenomenal. That's great. It becomes a lot harder the more clinicians you have. And I know we work with some practices that are in the 40 to 50 clinician range. And that
Mhm.
matching process, especially if you're doing it from a spreadsheet or from any kind of manual process, it just becomes unwieldy.
Yeah,
Unwieldy. Yeah. Yeah.
for
That's
sure.
so cool. Good job on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been helpful. And even some of the practices that have had some of those sophisticated spreadsheets, and they didn't want to give those up when they first started using Admira, we're talking about how to maximize that practitioner matching
Hmm.
in their practices. So we're working on weaning them off the spreadsheet, because it's a little, I mean, spreadsheets are a little like a drug, right? You gotta kind of come off of those, taper off of those.
Yeah. I've definitely noticed that in terms of like changing the workflows in a team or a business, um, the way that things operate, whether it's the software that's being used or the way that the procedure is being done, it's not as easy as I would like it to be.
Right. Right.
Because you have to kind of get buy-in from everybody involved, and you have to change, all your muscle memory on all the things that you do. And
Hmm.
some people just really love their spreadsheets too, which I do kind of understand. There
I
are
do too.
benefits,
Yeah.
because the CRM world it adds complexity, but it does so much more. So I kind of think it's like going from like a Google Sheet is like riding a bicycle,
Mhm.
and then like having Admira or Simple Intake or something like that is like jumping in a supercar, right?
Yeah.
I think
Right.
it's a massive upgrade, but you got to learn how to handle it.
Exactly. Exactly. And, I think I try to help people pace themselves. It's like, let's get the basics down. Let's work on that for a little bit. And then let's start to add some of these other layers in.
Right.
And I think that helps people manage the change. And again, that's change management. We do that as clinicians, asking,
Hmm.
clients to work through change, and all change equals loss. So we're giving up something to go to this new thing. And even though it might be good, it might be better, it's still hard. And sometimes you have some feelings about it.
Definitely. Yeah.
You know?
That's a really good approach. We need some like support groups for admin teams.
exactly right.
We have that built into Productive Therapist, of course, so that's a
Yeah.
benefit. But yeah,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
change is hard. That's a good point that every time something changes in your life or in your work, then you do lose something and you have to
Mhm.
deal with the emotions that come up with that. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
You gave me this question and I thought it was a really interesting one. So I'm going to ask you, if running a practice and building software were a playlist, what would the vibe be?
All over the place.
Yeah.
Um, it would be a little lo-fi, like when I'm in my private practice hats,
Mm-hmm.
and I still see a handful of clients, so that vibe is a little lo-fi. To some badass CEO Lizzo carrying it on like that. And then there's some other days, honestly, that it is like the suspenseful drama of a movie score
Mm-hmm.
when everything's on fire. Right?
Right.
So it's like, so it really runs the gamut. When I sat back and thought about it, I was like, I have those days that are chill and lo-fi, and some days I feel really powerful, and some days
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm getting my butt kicked. So
I think I'm tempted to name this episode From Lo-Fi to Lizzo.
I
Something like that.
love
That
that.
would be pretty clever. Have you seen the show on HBO called Succession?
I have seen snippets. I haven't committed to watching it yet.
I think it's a fantastic show. It's not for everybody. It's pretty intense. But the theme song to that song, or to that show rather, is like, if you hear it, you just feel all the drama and the intensity and the like, it's fantastic. I like it.
Wasn't that a family that the some dynasty, and the kids were jockeying for
Yes.
taking over dad's business?
I
Yeah.
think it's loosely based on like the Turner Broadcasting family yeah, I can't remember the name of that person, but yeah, it's a good show.
Okay.
Uh,
After
but it,
Stranger Things, John and I might have to check it out.
yeah, that's good. Well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. I know we could go into so many different aspects of the client journey and the software solutions and the teams, but I think we covered some good ground here. So for people who are listening to this and they're like, I didn't know that existed, or I have a spreadsheet that is out of hand and I need some help moving to a better system, my practice is growing, where can they find out more about Admira?
At admira.com, and that's ADMIRRA, right? Admira.com. And we're on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram as well. You can follow us there. Those are the main channels, I think.
Excellent. I do have to ask you this question I forgot to ask. I'm curious about how you came up with the name Admira.
So, good question. And one of my very dear friends, I, uh, I I supervised her through her LSW, and then she came into private practice, and then she's launched her own very successful group practice. She and her husband are very entrepreneurial, and she is the one who we brainstormed this name for. And so Admira is like admin, and then mirror, like reflecting back what's going
Ooh,
on for administration within your practice. So Tara and her husband Ty were really instrumental when we were
yeah.
getting started and deciding to go to market, and we were doing intense brainstorming back and forth, and really throwing everything against the wall. But that was Tara's brainchild, really, and we loved it. We landed on it. We were like, I think that's it.
That's such a good story because sometimes when a company will make up a word,
Mhm.
right, it's truly just 100% made up, but there's
Yeah.
actually like a tie-in between therapy and admin. That is very cool. And you obviously bypassed having to do like a ton of trademarking, copywriting, and getting of domains that are hard to get and all the
Well,
things.
we made sure that it was
Yeah,
made sure we could do it. So
that's so
once we
clever.
landed, I mean, we had been looking at a couple different domains and names, and the copywriting and stuff, but trademarking So yeah, we were able to figure it out. That was probably about 3 months of us going back and forth,
It's
racking our
so
brains.
hard.
Yeah,
It's
it
so
is.
hard.
What to name something? John always
Right?
says that. He's like, the hardest thing in technology is what to call it.
It's so funny. I back a couple of years ago, I rebranded my group practice because I originally put my name in the name
Mhm.
of the practice and didn't need to be there. And I had the hardest time coming up with a name for the practice. And
Yeah.
I actually did hire a copywriter to help me name the thing.
Oh
And
wow.
we together we came up with Intune Family Counseling, this whole music theme, and the idea of like helping your family, find the right rhythm and all these kinds of things. I was so grateful for
I
that
love that. That is
support.
awesome.
I'm
Yeah.
still really proud of it. I think it's awesome. And if you come to our offices, the whole waiting room is music themed. Every office is a genre of music. So we have the funk room, the rock and roll room, the R&B room, etc. It's really fun. I'm
That's
proud of it.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast, Wendy. It's great to talk to you always, and I hope you have a great year.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Raya. It's been great.
That's it for today. Thanks so much for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review and hit the subscribe button to make sure you never miss an episode. If you're looking for more personalized help, you can reach us through productivetherapist.com. Thanks so much for listening. We are Productive Therapist, and this is the podcast that helps therapists get more done and have more fun.